right, guys. The long-awaited moment, the premium super steel video. Which one is best? And we have declared a winner. There are some things that we don't have in the collection and don't have any experience with, and so not going to talk about that, right? There's some stuff out there that's just wild, and it's 100% unique. You're going to spend $1,000 just to get a knife that has some of that stuff,
of course.
But this is still in the realm of reality of commercially available steels. And without further ado, S90V, like in my Medford 187, this big chunky dude, takes the cake. And quite frankly, with the amazing amount of carbides this thing has, its reasonable toughness, and just its edge retention, and it's actually still sharpenable like S30V, you really get something that really smokes the rest. But yeah, S90V, that is the baddest dude out there. And
it's a hefty chunk of it too.
Yeah, and there's another name for it also called 440V. So if you get that, it has high levels of vanadium, which increases the toughness, and it has, almost twice the amount of carbon of most every other steel out there. So that increases the hardness and the edge retention when you have a ton of carbon. It also increases the brittleness, but that's the importance of the vanadium, is to create a tough steel. And I don't know, Josh, if you heard of for K-bar steel 1095 Crovan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's a vanadium added to 1095 to increase the toughness of 1095. So that's why a K-bar is a little bit more tough than a typical type 1095 steel.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
But S90V is champ. That would be the steel I would use for everyday tasks in just edge retention.
Now, this is a steel that you're probably not going to find on a cheap knife.
No.
It's going to be a grail knife or an expensive hard use type knife.
Yeah.
You're definitely going to pay for it.
Even higher end knives don't really come with S90.
Yeah.
It's the higher end. It's the next tier, I would say, above even our honorable mention, M390.
Yep. So M390, you see that a lot. Microtech uses it quite a bit. I've seen it on some Lion steels. There's a handful of known knife companies that use M390. That would be probably the next up, and that's M390 is essentially the same thing as 204P. They're both very, very similar. So much so that you could pretty much say they're the same steel, just different manufacturers, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is everybody's trying to get into the game, and that's a good thing because that is just my game.
Right.
And it's nice.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, it's nice to have a lot of different companies bringing their own mix. And you know what? When you get at this level, you kind of have to be a little bit crazy to be in the Medford and the high-end Microtech game anyway. Let's call it out for what it is. And you start really mincing differences.
Well, it seems to me, though, that like M390 is starting to become more readily available. You're seeing it on a lot more knives that are more affordable, such as your Lion steels, and I think the Spyderco, I think they might have an M390 option.
Yeah, so you really kind of have to be at the S90V level, which is the next tier. But once again, going off the Blade HQ, I think it's a good reference point for where you are at. S90V is really the king of those, and M390 LMAX is a little bit, just a touch behind, but quite frankly, you're never going to be able to tell the difference between 204P, M390, LMAX, and that maybe that'll drive a little bit of discord amongst you to be able to say, well, how dare you? The differences are there. But the problem is the heat treat is more than likely from most companies the exact same or very similar process. And you're not going to get a dramatic difference in those percentages because those percentages are exacerbated by the heat treat process.
And honestly, to really be able to tell any of the differences, you're either going to have to just beat the heck out of your knife, which nobody's going to want to do that for a knife that costs this much, or you're going to have to use it a whole heck of a lot.
A whole lot. And then remember in a controlled circumstance what you used it for. So, but I'll tell you that, you know what, if you're a user of your Grail and you had S90V, you're going to be really, really excited about how long S90V keeps a workable edge, you know?
Yeah.
And when we talk about edges and we talk about edge retention in a future video, we'll kind of get into some of the dynamics of sharpening, what is edge retention, what's hair popping sharp, and some examples of different types of edges, because hair popping sharp, you know, you can get that with a big old chunky S90V and that'll do it. But there are some aspects to steel that keep them from being super duper sharp compared to other steels. And there may be even some things that'll surprise you in that.
And it has to do with the grind, and there's a lot that goes into it.
There's a lot that goes into it. And the angles, the heat treat, the type of steel, and razor sharpness is not always the end result. Extremely screaming sharp can happen in different ways. But anyway, that's a subject for another video. But S90V, that is king of the hill. Check it out. If you can find yourself an S90V steel, pick that up. I would take it over anything else in the super steel range. So there you go. Yeah. Comment below. Dissenting opinions are highly welcome. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let us know if you disagree, because we always like a little controversy. And we want to know, like, hey, if you think we're wrong, tell us.
Yeah, did we leave something out? Does Blade HQ leave something out? And we can certainly link that page in the description. So you can go and view it for yourself. But let us know. We want to hear from you guys. As always, stay sharp.
Stay sharp. See you guys.